Hey, welcome back. This is meeting 19. So the previous video that I did for the review was 18, just so you know, and I posted that already on Google Classroom and on the YouTube channel, Heskin ELA. So if you just want to watch the YouTube, you can certainly do that instead of logging into Google Classroom. So we left off on, this is the chapter 5, probably 6. Take up, and then we'll do summaries after that. We have at the end of chapter 4, Graf and is talking to Anderson about Ender, and so you have Graf is the one who's initiating, like trying to control. So if you're looking at this from a video game perspective. So you have Ender as the user for the games that are played in his reality, so his society. So he plays, he learns from the situation, and then he plays his game in order to control the outcomes. So like the Stilson situation where he beats up Stilson and he tells everybody that I beat him up in this manner because I am preventing any further possible bullying from any one of you. Okay, so this is what happens to you if you choose to continue to bully me. Is that the correct way to solve a bullying problem? No. But in this case, in this reality, Ender is being primed or designed for that sole purpose, to go to that extent to ensure the safety and welfare of the planet Earth. And that's what Graf is looking for, and the international fleet for that matter too. They're looking for someone who will make that big decision that will ensure the security and safety of the planet Earth. So there will not be any further invasions by the buggers and or any other potential enemies that are out there in space. And so then he meets Graf in chapter 3, and he's hoping that Graf would be his friend. And at the end of chapter 4, Graf says, yes, I am his friend, but at the same time, I'm going to do everything I can to make Ender the best leader and soldier possible. And Anderson, you can probably view Anderson as Graf's conscience, but of course Graf ignores probably most of what Anderson suggests, and so Anderson has to kind of just go along with things at times, or at least it seems that way anyways. But right now Anderson's on board with what Graf is doing, and he said, we're going to make Ender the best military commander in history. Okay, so that's where we left off in chapter 4. And in chapter 5, we get into games. Okay, so the breaking of the arm during launch, Ender thought Graf was going to be his friend, he's going to stick up for him and protect him and so on and so forth. But what Graf does, he elevates Ender above everybody else, and of course everybody else did not like that. And so then they start mocking Ender, and Ender he's not going to stand for that. And so these kids go after Ender. Ender protects himself and defends himself and ends up breaking the arm of one of the boys. So Anderson's questioning that tactic, and at the same time it's like, no, that's what we need. it's unfortunate that that happened. It was an accident, he says, on the beginning of chapter 5. But who would have guessed that Ender would have responded that way, and would have done what he had done in order to set that person straight, or put them in their place, for one thing. Now, did that solve the relationship issue that Ender has already with those kids, or any, and does it affect his potential chances of building a relationship with those kids? Right now, the kids despise him. Okay, and again, reminder that Ender is younger than these kids as well. So, the boy that had the broken arm just got beat up by what is he, 6 years old right now? Okay, so that doesn't look good either. So, pride is another issue that's being played here. So, they get their bunks, and of course, Ender has to navigate accordingly and adjust. The kids think that they're making a point by having Ender situate his bunk where he's going to sleep and stuff like that at the very front of the room, and of course he turns around and says, "No, thanks. I'm glad you put me here," that kind of thing. And so he doesn't take it, even though it hurts that they did that. He makes them think that, oh, it was okay. It was great that you did that. And so then they're like, well, what else could we do to get back at this guy? And nothing's working right now. And so they're going to keep trying, making attempts to set this guy straight and put him in his place. But Ender's watching, he's listening, he's learning from his experiences, and through that learning, he's learning the big thing. He's able to manipulate his fellow peers, and eventually he's going to be able to manipulate anybody that he comes in contact with, and so that they're serving him more, instead of the other way around, where he becomes it prevents him from being passive, for one thing. And so we learn more about the what the battle school looks like. If you're looking for a project idea, you can certainly recreate the battle school, what it was like to walk down the hallways, things like that. There's different colors that are used to designate where they need to go from one place to another, that kind of stuff. And so you can certainly reenact that, maybe recreate it in your home, that kind of thing. So have some fun with that project. Nobody's done that actually for projects. So he tries to meet some people, and there's some mocking and stuff like that in chapter 5. And then they get into his classes and what kind of classes he's taking. They're called, anybody that's in the first group are called launchies. So it's a title. It's not probably a great title that these kids want to have, but they're at the bottom of the pyramid, and they've got to work their way up to eventual commander, which is at the top. So they got to go through the hoops and stuff like that, like we all have to do. And then we learn more about some of the gaming that takes place, and of course the game that he plays with Bernard. And Bernard is a little snooty, but he's another bully that Ender has to contend with in battle school. So he thought he got away from one, and then ends up, it doesn't matter where he goes, there's going to be somebody there that's going to try to bring Ender down in some form or another. So the big question you need to ask yourself is how are you going to handle those trials and tribulations? and so that one, it becomes a learning experience. Two, you it makes you a better person because you handled it in a better way instead of reacting right off the bat and adding fuel to the fire and so on and so forth. So chapter 5, again, it's just fitting in that sense of belonging that takes place. So please take a look at that in a little more detail, and then I'll go over that in summaries. So I'm going to call this meeting right now due to time, and we'll get into chapter 6. Take care of yourself.